If those pants are not clean, you will not eat anything in this house today.
My name is Adora, and this is my story. I grew up in a small village in Anambra State. It was just me and my mother. I never knew my father. We were not rich, but my mother worked so hard so she could provide for me. She sold vegetables in the market every day so she could send me to school. She made sure I didn't lack anything. She made sure I had food to eat every day. She loved me, and that was everything to me. Then one afternoon, my auntie came, Mrs. Ngozi, my mother's sister. She arrived in a nice car, wearing expensive clothes, smelling like money. She sat down close to my mother, smiling, and then she said, "Sister, you have tried though. Look at how Adora is so big." Adora that was just a baby yesterday. They both smiled. Then she said something that made my mother's face change. She said, "Let me take Adora to Lagos. I will take care of her and make sure she goes to school. She cannot remain in this village, as beautiful as she is." Then I looked at my mother. Her eyes were filled with tears. She held Mrs. Ngozi's hand and thanked God. That night, my mother could not sleep. She arranged my clothes one by one and made sure everything was in my bag. Then she said to me, "My beautiful daughter Adora, I'm going to miss you. Please do not bring shame and disgrace to this family. You are all I have." I nodded and said, "Mama, don't worry. I will make you proud. I'll come back and take you away from this village." The next morning, my auntie was ready for us to go. My mother stood at the compound and held me so tightly I could barely breathe. She whispered in my ears, "Make us proud, Adora. Study hard. God be with you." I nodded and smiled. I got in the car, and as we drove away, I turned and watched my mother through the back window. She was still standing there, waving, until I could not see her anymore. I did not know that it would be 3 years before I see her face again. And then we arrived in Lagos. Mrs. Ngozi's house in Lekki was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Big gates, marble floors, air conditions, chandeliers, and so many more beautiful things in the house. I was so excited to live in such a big house, or so I thought. Then she took me to the back of the house and said, "This is where you are going to sleep from now on, Adora. I don't like the smell of maid in the main house." I looked at her in shock. "Auntie, you called me a maid?" And then she said, "Yes, that is what you are, and that is what you are here for. Drop your bag and come. I will show you everything that you need to be doing in this house." I quickly dropped my bag and followed her. And she said, "This is how this house works. You wake up at 4:30 a.m., you sweep the compound, you mop all the floors, you cook breakfast before anyone wakes up. You will wash the children's clothes and make sure everywhere in this house is clean." Then I waited. I waited for the part about school, but she didn't mention anything about school. So I nodded my head and I went to the back where I was going to sleep. The next morning, I started working, not as my auntie's niece, but as my auntie's maid. She turned me into a maid in her house. I cooked breakfast, I prepared lunch, and I also prepared dinner. I washed her clothes, her husband's clothes, and her children's clothes. I did everything in that house. I did all this for 5 years. 5 years of sleeping in the boys' quarters outside. 5 years of not eating good food. 5 years of taking care of her and her children. 5 years of her beating me if I did anything wrong or if I did nothing at all. 5 years of torture and pain and wishing I could just go back home to my mother. In those 5 years, I only spoke to my mother just few times. And in those times, I couldn't tell her what was happening to me in that house because Miss Sugozi was always standing beside me, listening to our conversation. So one day, I saw a note under my bed. It said, "Here is some money to register for your JAMB. If you need anything else, please let me know." I was shocked because I didn't know anybody who could send me such amount of money to register for my JAMB. So the next morning, I went into the kitchen. I wanted to tell my auntie, but I saw a textbook on the kitchen counter. Then when I opened it, I saw a note in it saying, "Please, Adora, study well for your JAMB." Then I realized it was Mrs. Ngozi's husband that sent me both the money and the textbook because he has been the only one treating me well in that house. He even quarreled with my auntie for treating me the way she treated me. He was always very kind to me. So I was able to register for my JAMB and I wrote the exams and I passed the exam. But the issue was, how will I get money to go into the university? Because the money my auntie paid me, she told me she sent them all to my mother. And I don't believe that. So I wrote a note and placed it in the kitchen counter. It said, "Thank you, Mr. Okafor. I passed my JAMB." The next morning, I saw a note in the kitchen counter. It said, "Pack your bag and everything you own and meet me at the junction at 2 p.m. That was how my life changed. I left my auntie's house and my uncle, Miss Ngozi's husband, took care of me afterwards. He paid for my hostel fees and paid for my university fees throughout the 4 years that I was in school. My auntie never looked for me. She never called my mother. But I called my mother and I told her everything that happened in my auntie's house. My mother was so thankful to Mr. Okafor, who has taken good care of me. After 4 years, I graduated from the university with first class. I was thankful. I was so happy. After the ceremony, I called my mother and told her everything. She was so happy. We both cried tears of joy. This moment meant everything to me. I am now a graduate, a girl who her auntie turned into a maid, now a graduate. My mother thanked God and prayed for Mr. Okafor, that God will bless him. So the next day, I got a call from my mother. She said that someone was here in the village looking for me. He said it was from my father. I never knew my father. I asked my mother, "Mama, do you know this man?" She replied and said no, but I have to come to the village and listen to what he has to say because he said it's very important, that the message was only for you to hear. I was so angry because my mother told me that my father left us when I was very young. So my mother begged me to please come to the village and listen to this man. So the next day, I packed my bags and I went to the village. When I got there, this man was already there waiting for me. He said, "Adora, your father sent me." On his dying bed, he said we should make sure we looked for his daughter and give her everything that he owns. Your father was Chief Williams, one of the richest men in Anambra State. He died 2 years ago. Before he died, he made a will. He had one child.
a daughter he never met, whose mother he lost contact with many years ago. He spent years searching for her. He never stopped searching. And that daughter is you, Adora. I looked at my mother. Mama, is this true? She said, yes. I met Williams long time ago. He abandoned me many years ago. He said he wanted a better life. I looked at my mother and said, but I don't want him. I don't want anything from him. If he left me a long time ago, then I do not have a father. The man said, yes, you don't, but you have a house in your name, a company in your name, and every other property Mr. Williams owns in your name. These are the documents. Then he gave me his number. He said whenever I was ready, anytime, I should call him. I didn't know what to say. Then I asked my mother, Mama, what should I do? Do I accept this? And my mother said, this is your inheritance. You will have to take it. If not, it will just be there wasting away. This is God. Because you have suffered, it is time for you to enjoy. Please take this opportunity, my daughter. You deserve every good thing in life. I smiled at my mother and said, this is for the both of us. If I am going to the city, I am going with you. Then the next morning, I called the man. He said he would send a driver to come and pick me and my mother. That was how we arrived at a big mansion, Mr. Williams' house, now my house. I was so happy and thankful. I was happy because my mother was still alive to witness this good gift that was given to me. I thought about everything I went through to get here, every suffering I went through in my auntie's house, and I understood one thing: God does not sleep. He is always working, even when I could not see it. And as for Mrs. Ngozi, I did not do anything to her. I didn't need to. Mr. Okafor eventually divorced her. He was tired of her wickedness, and the last I heard, she has gone back to the village with nothing. The same woman who treated me like a nobody was now struggling herself. I didn't celebrate it. I just nodded, because karma never forgets and God never sleeps. So if you are going through something painful right now, if someone is treating you like you are worthless, just hold on, because God sees you and He hears you. If you enjoy this story, please like, share, and follow for more African tales.